G'day and welcome. I'm Grant from Living Like Kings.
I'm Tyson from Roman and Ram.
And we just thought we'd do a bit of a video based around American trucks here in Australia. I know it's a pretty controversial and just here and there topic. Everyone's got their 2 cents. We are not professionals, we're not experts. We're just putting forth our experiences and what we've found about
What we've actually
found about buying, driving, touring, maintaining, fixing,
braking.
We're
both broken a lot. Yeah.
Our vehicles here in Australia. What are the benefits? What's the whole appeal? We're going to get into those questions and more coming up now. Okay, so g'day, we're sitting here having a chat about these things behind us. My name's Grant from Living Like Kings. I've been travelling around Australia now for about 4 years with my wife and our 2 dogs, Frank and Baxter. And we're on YouTube, we've documented our series travelling around. When we started, we had a 200 series Landcruiser towing our 20-foot Bushtracker to 2003. It's a bit old, bit of a shed on wheels really. She's a bit hefty. The 200 series did a great job, but we just wanted more payload because you know what, this life of traveling around, we're all about it now. It just suits us to a T. So how do we make it better? Well, we need to be more off-road, self-sufficient, right? Off-grid and stuff. So you want to try and carry as much stuff as possible, and you want to, well, as much stuff. You want to be off grid, so you want to have all your supplies,
All your toys,
food, water, all your toys. More importantly,
the big black thing up there.
Yeah, the boat on the roof. So once we did a bit of like half a lap, I wanted a boat. We went to South Lefroy in WA. I guts to have a boat. So anyway, that put us down a path.
Which you can do with the 200.
You can do it. Again, I've got to say, I need to stress, this is just our experiences. We're not professionals, we're not experts. These are our findings. And we will revert to actual facts when we start talking about numbers and stuff, okay? So, the 200 series did the job. But, and there's always a but, we found that it just didn't have the control we wanted being on the road. Being on the road full time, there's a lot at stake. There's our own safety and the safety of others, firstly. I needed to have that van being completely and utterly controlled by the tow vehicle. Therefore, you need the tow vehicle to be heavier. It just wasn't with the 200 series. I loved the 200 series, and if we weren't traveling full time, probably wouldn't have this thing behind me. I would probably stick with the 200 series because they're just awesome. I've always been a Landcruiser. I've had a 100 series, a 76, and a 200. Love them. I just don't think after driving and owning both, they hold a candle to these things for towing. So that's sort of where we're at.
I'll say for touring.
For touring.
Just because like the fact that like towing, yes, they eat them because of the power, the torque, the towing capacity, of course. Like none of the cruisers have it unless you do ridiculous upgrades to the 70s or chopper 200. But in that you can still carry 2 ton on the back, like 2.2 ton. Yeah. So, but you can't do that with any Landcruiser.
And you can afford a bit of weight for your tow ball, weight from your heavy van as well. The exhaust brakes, the engine braking, mate, it all just, it adds up. And it's the reason why we went those things. The main reason why I went with the F truck.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tyson.
All right. So while we have what we have, my background, my background's a bit on the roads. So I was straight up into weights and everything like that, which you'll notice when we do a bit of talking, I'm a bit of a stickler for it. I've got my MC road train license, and I did a bit of driving stuff in the military, and then out of the military I was an instant response officer on the highway, so I have a little bit to do with it. Not a pro or anything like that, but I have a little bit to do with it. So that is like, at the time I had a 70 series before we wanted to start traveling, and I knew straight away I'm going to want a tinny, I'm going to want this, I'm going to want that, I'm going to want this, and I was like, the only way to have that is to go American to be safe. Like, I can go a dual cab and do this and this and this to it and spend as much as American and it might get there, or I could go a 200 and do XYZ to it, and once again I can get a boat on it, I can get that, but I'm always going to be teetering on weights, and I'm always going to be worrying and like the size of a 200 versus the size of our 23 foot 4.5 ton van.
It doesn't equate, does it?
I don't like it. Like, you see it coming down the road and it looks wrong, where you see one of these big things and then a 23, a 24, 25, even a 27 foot van behind them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look as bad, because these are about 6.5 meters long and a 23 foot van is about 10. So, but it still weighs more. Like, we're sitting around that, like, I think you're sitting around usually what, 5.2, 5.3?
5.2,
yeah,
I think, and that's carrying everything we can carry.
yeah, and I'm usually sitting around 5.5 to 5.7, just depending on waters and fuels and whatnot.
Still got room for our,
Yeah.
we still have room to spare.
We're both still
with
got
our
400 kilos.
at least.
Yeah, which, yeah, we've both got 300 or 400 kilos to spare, and we've got tinnies, fuel. Like, for me, for instance, I got 200 litres of diesel, 600 litres of water. Like,
Yeah. With all the information that we have on hand at this current day and age,
yeah,
with everything that's available, we are safe.
yeah. Oh, and as well, we've got comfort and power, because we could have gone down the route of the
Yeah.
MPSs and the trucks.
Yeah.
But they ain't comfy and they don't have power.
Yeah.
So, yes. Anyway, I reckon we get into some of these questions. I'll be referring to my phone every once in a while just because it's easy. So we had a question on Instagram, upgrades for setting up your truck for towing. Like, what upgrades are needed to set up your truck for towing?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because these are built from factory to tow.
Like, to be honest,
You
if
don't.
you're just towing,
What did you need to do for your Landcruiser to tow?
oh, everything.
Everything, right?
You needed a GBM upgrade,
yeah.
a suspension upgrade,
Pro.
a tow pro. Oh, a bare minimum, you needed a tow pro.
Bare minimum, tow pro, towing mirrors, suspension upgrade,
yeah.
tune probably.
I don't think that even the cruisers come with a tow ball, and tow, some of them don't come with it standard from factory, like it's an optional extra. Well, I know some of the cars
Maybe
out
the
there,
new ones they do, but maybe the old ones didn't. I'm not sure.
and I know when even looking at other cars like your D-Maxes, your Navaras, your Tritons, all your tow vehicles in this category of I'll say a U truck body, no matter what, they're gonna, you've got to do at least 3, 4, 5 upgrades to be able to tow and tow safely and legally.
But the American trucks,
Nothing.
so to tow them,
Like, I can get this from stock, from one of the Ford converters or from Ram, and we can literally go put a pintle hook. Oh no, sorry, not a pintle hook because that's air brakes, but we can put a 4.5 ton hitch behind that and go tow up to like 11, 12 meters with 4.5 ton on it and not need an accessory, because the mirrors extend, we've got exhaust brakes, we've got electric brakes, we've everything.
yeah, and it has an inbuilt brake controller as well too. So not to mention the gearing. So it has a tow. All these things have a tow mode. So it just lengthens each gear to give you a bit more control, down gearing and accelerating.
Yep. And I don't know if this is in the Fords, but in the Rams, we've even got So like if you want to check your lights, for instance, like get this, you want to check your lights on your Caravan, you press 2 buttons and then you can walk around your Caravan, and in a sequence, each individual indicator will flash, each width lights will flash, brake light, like it's a full
Fords
sequence.
don't have, my Ford doesn't have this, so la-di-da.
and as well, when it does that, it'll actually come back to you on the screen of the Ram and say you have a brake fault, or you have a brake light fault,
yes, mine
or
does
you have
that.
an indicator fault, or like that's how good they are. The car will tell you if there's a fault and where the fault is, not you're driving down the road, you put your indicator on,
and you don't know.
You don't know, and someone else hits you.
or
you
get a call up on the radio. Oh mate, indicator ain't working.
Yeah, so that just shows that like from stock you don't need any accessories. However, what accessories have you done to make your rig better in towing?
Better in towing, probably. Well, you could say the GVM upgrade and the suspension.
Yeah.
So quite often from factory, these bog standard American trucks are essentially utes. The suspension is like any ute from factory, pretty poor. In fact, I've seen people with brand new Chevys saying the same thing. The factory suspension is poor.
We'll say them like this.
Just flimsy. So like every other vehicle on the road that you want to do things with, you have to modify them. You're putting better suspension in because the factory ones are just lackluster.
Yeah.
So since doing so, it affords us to do the canopy, the boat, the water tank, the extra ball weight, whatever, and just be safe. So I don't even really notice the Bushtracker behind me. It doesn't dictate what direction I'm going or anything else. The truck does.
A good one actually I got asked when we were at the camp out the other week together. The guys next to us, which sorry I can't remember your name right now, but they ended up coming to Burrum with us afterwards. They had the 300 series in the van. They asked
Gareth, wasn't it? Gareth? Yeah.
He asked if we feel like when you go up beside a semi-trailer, or you have a semi-trailer come the other way and you're on single lanes doing 100. He was like, cushion. Do you feel the air push the van and the truck? I'm like, no.
If the road's really, how you going?
Yeah.
A bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
But you know when you like go up beside a semi and you're both going the same way, or it comes up beside you and you kind of like feel it push when you're in like a smaller vehicle?
Yeah.
Have you ever had that? Because I remember like driving like a coaster bus and back in the day and stuff like that, and you'd feel it push it. But with these, I don't know why.
I nearly got pushed off the road once going across the Nullarbor.
Yeah, well there you go.
Or even, no, actually it was the Bruce.
Oh, Bruce.
The Bruce.
The shittest highway in Australia.
Yeah, mate, it's shocking.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about that.
That's a whole can of worms right there.
Yeah.
But a truck did, a big B double. That air cushion almost did push me right into the shoulder. And it was a real butt clenching moment.
And you don't really get it with these trucks.
What did you do to set up your truck?
What haven't I done? Nah. I've done some pretty extensive stuff to mine. I have done an engine tune for more power, better fuel. I have done a transmission tune just because that's a weak point, which we'll talk about later, but that's a weak point in the Rams. So I've done a transmission tune, engine tune. I've done a suspension upgrade. I've done airbags. With the suspension and the airbags to get the GVM upgrade, I've gone to 35s, and I've done a rim upgrade. That's to get your weights, which we'll talk about later on.
I'll just jump into, with this, you'll see the starting point. So you don't have to spend that, well you can, right? So that is a bit more fancier. A lot more money's been spent. Much more thought has gone into what has been put on it because you've built it.
And I've done it twice.
I've had mine built by a builder, and we had a very limited budget building that. Which
is something else we'll touch on a bit later on. Is car builders, project managers, whatever they want to call themselves, don't want to slash them, and like there is a need for them. However, we'll talk about it later on. I'll just say the only part with that, I'll leave it at this, but do your own research.
Do your own research.
Yeah.
You know, even this is just another resource. It's just also a lot of it is our experiences, not our opinions, our experiences. Yeah. So take that into consideration too.
Because I wish there was
don't take it to gospel.
I wish there was something like this that I could have watched 2-3 years ago. Because like I've done 2 canopies, 2 suspensions, I've done a lot of multiples on that. Plus it's my second Ram, which I had a 25, went to a 35, and these are all factors that if there was something like this pointing out certain factors, I probably wouldn't have spent the extra money that I've spent, which is a ridiculous amount of money. That was a cow, by the way, in the background. We're on a farm at the moment. Anyway, Next one. Weak spots for American trucks versus other four-wheel drive. So we're not looking at faults here. We're looking at the weak,
I guess having them in Australia is what they're trying to say.
I think that's more of a weak spot. Like if you were to drive, say.
Okay, driving in town.
Yeah.
Driving in town would be a big thing.
Yeah.
Right? So
sometimes,
just going into the shops and just parking at the supermarket.
Yeah, I tend to park just away from people because
that's what we do. Yeah. So there's a real simple fix.
We fit between the lines.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day,
the length.
We're 50 mil wider than a 200 series. For all the people out there that want to whinge that we take up large car parks, we don't actually. And if you see a car doing it, it's because that person probably can't drive properly.
But also, like, a lot of us will park right at the very back, away, like in the corner, parked into a garden.
Can I ask you, when you do that, how many times do you come back and
someone's parked right next to me?
And it's usually another four-wheel drive, just because, I don't know.
No, it's quite often a little hatchback.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I always get another four-wheel drive parking.
Or an SUV. But, so there's that. Look, everyone knows that at the moment, these things haven't been in Australia. They haven't been in the country for as long as your Toyotas, your Landcruisers, your Patrols, whatever. So that there isn't the existing mechanical knowledge here already with mechanics and technicians and so on, experts. It's growing.
Definitely,
but it's not pre-existing, so that's going to mean that there's going to be some difficulties.
Yeah,
there's not the parts here readily available across the country in the middle of all,
But can I say something?
Somewhere.
Something I'd like to bring up there is, yes, there's not there's not tons of parts everywhere, and there's not tons of mechanics or whatever that can work on it. However, this is for the Landcruiser lovers, because I love to do this one. If you get a Landcruiser, you chop it, put an automatic in it, put a J-Max conversion on it, do all the engine grades up under the sun, do all the do all the extras that you do, that they all do, so they can tow 4 ton or 4.5 ton, you get the exact same problem. Because not every mechanic around Australia knows how to work on that modified vehicle now, because it's not a Landcruiser anymore. Like it is, and the center of the VDJ is the same, but every single bolt-on, like the wholesales automatic or the 8-speed or whatever you put on there, they might not know how to work on that. The J-Max, you have to be a qualified J-Max installer to actually work on that and warrant it. So you will get the same issues traveling around Australia with that type of product. Yes.
But it is getting better though, right? I mean,
in both retrospects, it's getting better.
The amount of these vehicles that we're seeing on the road on a daily basis
is crazy.
Over the past, I'm just going to say the past 12 months has skyrocketed.
Oh yeah.
And for good reason, They're
safe, they're good.
They're just a bit safer for towing.
They're safer in general.
Now,
if you have an accident.
For me, like the mechanical issues, look, every vehicle, I don't care what you say, every vehicle has mechanical issues.
100%.
Right? We have had our fair share with the Ford, but
I've even got one currently. We're waiting for parts currently right now. So, which we'll talk about later.
But I find that with the mechanical issues, they're not a showstopper.
No.
You know, I would.
Except for when you break your radiator at the tip of Australia.
Okay, so let's say you're a bit of a weekend warrior. You've only got a short window of time to be traveling, and something breaks. That it ruins your holiday, and then you go back to work, and then figure out how to find the time to get it fixed. That's gonna shit you. That's gonna be really annoying, right? 100%. I get those guys. We're not those guys.
No.
We work on the road we travel full time. So we can be a bit more flexible with time windows to get matters sorted out on our vehicles if they do arise, and sometimes when.
You just got to adapt and overcome. Like for instance, right now we're waiting on a part, like I just said, and what do? We hang in the southeast region. We can still travel. We're just not working the car hard. It's safe to do so, and yeah, we'll just travel around here and do what we do around here. Same as
freeze our nuts off while we're waiting.
Yeah, no, Same as when we're in Cape York. We broke down up there. We made the most of it. We actually got jobs and earned money and made awesome friends and blah blah blah. It's all making the most of a bad situation. So,
but generally speaking, they've got a bad rap. I think people like to shun things that are new.
Yeah, it's like, everyone shunned the 300 series.
And every bastard's got one.
And now everyone loves it. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that sort of answers the question, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, we're going to jump over to Instagram for this one because there was a couple of questions.
Some good ones too, actually. Was it Laura?
Lauren?
Lauren?
I believe, if I can find the post. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so Lauren, on-road assistance and parts availability. Is it difficult these days to find a mechanic? We kind of just touched on that. I'll just quickly jump onto this because we've both had our problems, I suppose. But so parts, I find parts aren't that bad because you can get them out of America and you just got to pay a bit extra for air freight. The problem is customs. So customs was what stuffed us up on the last time. Our parts hit Australia within I think it was 14 days, which isn't that bad really. And customs then blew it out because customs do customs things. The next time we had an issue, they had it, I think they had the boys got the parts and actually got them in my car within 9 days.
Wow.
And then the one currently, what are we? We're at 7 days, I think, since we ordered the parts, and they're supposed to arrive this week, depending on customs. So parts isn't that bad, except if you go through the converter, because I've heard some really shocking things about like Chev Australia, Ram Australia, and I can't really comment on the Fords just because they don't have a Ford Australia.
It can be a convoluted subject because of so many different factors too. So many different suppliers.
Yeah.
You know, individual experiences.
OME parts versus these parts versus those parts. Which parts can you use because of conversion types, and which, once again, we'll talk about that stuff later. So I think the parts availability is definitely getting better.
Oh yeah.
And it's definitely not as bad as
like 2 years ago, it was not great.
Yeah. And it's definitely not as bad as what people make it out to be. And I'll say that from first-hand experience because I've broken down multiple times around Australia. Would you like to add anything to that one?
There are mechanical spare warehouses across the country now. So there's multiple in Melbourne. There's a few that I know of in Queensland, in Brisbane. I think there's one in New South Wales from what I know of. I could be wrong, there could be more. But that's all I know of at the moment.
And in saying that, because...
A couple in WA too.
Because the vehicles are becoming more common, you get write-offs, you get whatever the damages are, and then there's parts. Because people buy them and part them out. So you get parts anyway. Yeah. In the second part of that question, finding a mechanic who can help when remote. Okay.
I'll jump on that one. Okay, so we crossed the gear last year. I had my hubs fail. We were in the middle of the Gear River Road, and I called my mechanic, and he, like I said, Dave, guess what? You were right. I'm in trouble. So he walked me through what to do. So I was literally on the Pentecost River, and I had a jack stand under the front axles. I had the wheels off. I had the whole like axles out and everything.
Always fun.
Covered in shit. It's just he walked me through it, and if you're even half mechanically minded, you'll be able to figure it out. So just having that support over the phone helped immensely. And you know, I guess the biggest tip, owning one of these, find yourself a fantastic mechanic who knows all about them,
and hold on to them,
and like, you know, buy them beer every now and again. Make sure you take care of them, because they'll take care of you. And you know, you've got Reese, I've got Dave, and I might even end up using, or vice versa, later on down the road, because they're both absolute gurus. They know exactly what they're talking about and everything about these trucks. So that's my advice.
Yeah, and definitely that is awesome advice. Find a mechanic. Speak to people that are on the road that have had the issues. I know there's mechanics all the way around Australia that are good. I'll give Reese from G&L Performance in Southeast Queensland the biggest praise. Like the stuff he's done for me, get me parts from America and get them to me when I'm in a remote weeper, or on the side of the road, I blew an EGR valve because I don't even know how I blew it anyway. He had a mechanic come out to me from Bundy to the side.
Above and beyond, eh? Seriously.
Yeah, like literally this guy drove an hour.
Backwards for you.
Like he got one of his mates to drive out to me, and then on the side of the road, diagnosed the problems, went back to the workshop. That night they machined up what they needed, came back the next morning and got me fixed and got me good enough to then, so I could drive a couple of hours south to Reese, and then Reese gave me the proper fix because he had the parts.
One of the most well-connected blokes I've ever heard of too. Like, he just knows people everywhere, and then bam, this is happening.
He's got people all the way around Australia, which is another thing I love, because I can give him a call and go, yeah, man, I'm in Townsville. Yep, go see such and such. I'm in Darwin. Go see such and such. I'm in Sydney. Go see, there's someone in each state at least, which is good. And if not, he's not cheap. And I provide beer. And
that's why he takes care of you so much, because he absolutely flogs you. But like, that's what, you've had that many things go wrong.
Yeah.
Not like so many things, but like you've had enough things to go wrong for him to go, well, you know, like you've spent enough money with me, I'll take care of you, sort of thing. So that's definitely the case with him.
So at the end of that is what we're saying is use our super case. No, I'm kidding. This find a mechanic that you know is good, that you can trust, and keep them on the phone. And buy
them a Christmas present. Keep them, stay in the good books.
Hey, and I'd do that even if I didn't have an American truck. Like if I had a Cruiser,
it's hard to find good mechanics.
Yeah. So
because quite often, if you're getting your vehicle repaired or built, you need to go over every single thing, because quite often they do miss things, and they have done. And like, look, that's fine. Everyone stuffs up. Everyone. And I'm okay with people stuffing up, as long as they take responsibility for what they do, and own it and fix it.
100%.
If they fight you on it, and like, mate, no one else could have done it. It's you. Take responsibility for it. Anyway, if they do that, it's all good. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
But it's when they don't.
The other thing we're saying that just because in Lauren's little spiel question, they're doing a lap soon with small kids, same as myself, and ideal for car seats, canopy, blah, 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 but you're worried about getting stuck. The biggest thing I'll say about that, because I was stuck north of the Jardine River, literally we couldn't drive the car. It was a pretty shitty situation, to be honest. But we had RACQ RV because we're over 3.5 ton. They came to the party and they towed us. The other thing I'll say with that is make sure when you get your roadside assistance, You declare what vehicle you have, your weight, and you declare that you're towing, and ask them if they'll cover you, because I've heard of some people getting jibbed and they won't tow the van, they'll charge you extra for the van, but if you get it on recording, which is what we did, and then they towed us. So that is definitely one thing I would recommend, depending on your stays, depending on your coverage and blah, blah, blah. However, get cover that actually covers the American truck or vehicle that you have, because a lot of the standard ones these days only go to 3.5 ton. So Landcruiser, over 3.5 ton. Most trader utes, over 3.5 ton. If you're towing, over 3.5 ton. Yeah. So really look into your roadside if you're worried about getting stuck remote.
Do your own research too, because they change their policies all the time.
Yeah. So just like I said, when you call up, ask those couple of questions about the weight, the size of the vehicle, the length of the caravan, all that, and get the recording, and get it in writing. Because then you're safe. If they say they'll tow you, because that's what happened with us. We called up, we said we've got a 5.8 ton Ram and we've got a 10 metre caravan, weighs 4.5 ton. Will you tow us under RV insurance? They said yes. Then what do you know? 5 weeks later, we broke down and they had to tow us. Yeah. So, yes.
All right.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Oh, a compare. So you already kind of compared the 200 with the F-Truck at the start, eh?
I did. So what does the question say?
It just says to compare the 200 to the F-Truck.
Oh, look, okay, so this is a really hard one. They're completely different animals. They're in different weight classes. It's really hard to compare them.
You can't.
If you're talking about usability, or if you're talking about towing, there's different answers.
Yeah.
So,
okay, say
for touring.
Touring.
Okay, let's say for touring.
So not dedicated four-wheel driving, not dedicated this, not dedicated towing, just overall touring where you're going to do a little bit of dirt roads, corrugations, sand. You're going to be towing, you're going to be...
In terms of performance, touring around Australia, off-road, haven't had really any problems apart from the aftermarket hubs failing on us. But what these things can do in two-wheel drive is pretty good, as long as you stay off the bloody sand.
Oh, well, that's just a Ford thing maybe, because mine eats the sand.
Anyway, so...
Gotta have a little bit of banter.
So the Ford, like we've driven on sand and it's been okay in two-wheel drive.
TY Beach.
And we haven't shut up. Everyone's seen the video. Mechanical failure. It was just one of those things. We just had no idea that the front hubs weren't engaging. And then until we got in there, and then I was evident. And then everyone's
I'm just staring, yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, the bloody thing's not working. You don't have four-wheel drive. But, you know, I gather that the front wheels aren't working. Einstein, cheers. Anyway, so but there's nothing I could have done then because I was balls deep in sand, and I couldn't get the wheels off. To then, the hubcaps only came off from the back of the wheel, so that wheel had to come off, hubcap out,
which is
then get to the manual locking system, which is a real pain in the ass on the Fords, and the rims that we had.
Which is something we'll go a bit more in depth a bit later.
Anyway, so I'm getting off the point here.
yeah, we're talking about 200 here.
So the 200 off-road was amazing. I didn't have any problems. So I think off-road towing, they're sort of almost on par, because you're not doing the massive speeds, you're not doing massive distances or whatever like that. Sometimes you are, but I found that the performance off-road 200 versus Ford was pretty even. The only difference would be is that I had more fuel, more supplies, a boat,
better fuel consumption,
far better fuel consumption, believe it or not.
Bigger towing capacity.
Everyone thinks that the bigger trucks are going to drink more.
They don't.
It's an absolute fallacy. Like it's
crazy.
False.
Yeah. Which once again we're going to talk, and
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the on-road, I would say that for me the F-Truck, far more control, far more comfort.
Like at the end of the day, what would you rather? Like if you can afford it, I suppose. If you can afford a 200 and if you can afford an F-Truck, wouldn't you rather afford the vehicle that's going to be safer at the end of the day? It's just safer, like, because it's bigger, it's heavier, it's stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's, and as well, like, God forbid, if we ever have an accident, we're bigger, we're stronger, we're not going to crumple as hard, we're not going to, like, I've seen pictures on Facebook and all the social medias that where people have accidents and the other car is like a write-off, and this might have a little dent in the quarter panel or a scratch on the bull bar. Like I guess, that for me, that's a no-brainer, the safety factor.
Yeah. But for me also, so one thing that the 200 series had over the F-Truck, I would say, is the turning circle. So if you're trying to get in, like when we were in the southwest corner of WA, these little pocket campsites, they are really, really tight. There is no way in the world I would have been able to get the Bushtracker into one of those spots, like Torbay Inlet.
But I guess that just comes...
Mate, it was so tight, we would not have been able to do that.
But this comes down to planning. Where
the 200s, you can unhitch, you can go into town and park pretty much wherever. Like, there is pros for both. And obviously...
Full-time touring, what would you rather?
Well, what I've got, clearly, because I've got one. But also, it just makes far more sense if you're full-time touring. If you're just going to do a lap, you've got the money, you've sold the house, whatever, you want all the toys and all the fruit, no dramas, go for it, knock your socks off. But if you're going to, if the budget's limited, the 200s are great. Or even like the Y62, like
fuel guzzler, but a
little bit of a fuel guzzler because it's unleaded. You're asking a lot for a petrol engine.
I'd go the 200 just because you can get those GVM upgrades and the towing upgrades with the 200 to 4 ton. You can tow 4 ton with a 200. So I'd personally, if I was to...
Plus I'm a Landcruiser man, so I would always have a 200.
But at the end of the day, comparing the two in a full-time touring aspect, it kind of also comes down to how you're traveling too. Because if you're only traveling with a 3.5 ton van and you don't want a boat, well, there's probably no need, but they're safer and they're better fuel and
I mean, you can carry more power, more water on the truck, more supplies.
So it just kind of, you can compare them, but it kind of comes down to your way of traveling and your way of touring. And your budget.
Definitely.
We'll have to leave it there, but next episode is going to be over on my channel, over at Roman and a Ram.
So jump over and
check out, just for a quick, like, what we're going to be doing. It's going to be more in talking weights, GVMs, axle weights, how to get the max out of your weights, weight distribution on the vehicle, and aftermarket parts depending on conversion, because that can be a very big one, depending whether it's an F-Truck and all the different converters, the Ram, all the different converters, the year of the Ram, the year of the F-Truck. It comes down to your parts, whether you got a brand new one or an old one. And we might even chuck in there the salesman, how they don't actually know what they're talking about. And then later on, we're going to talk about car builders, canopy weights, accessories, prices, fuel consumption, our problem, common problems, and whatever else you guys chuck at us.
There's a lot there because we only got through this much.
We got through like that on the list.
There might be like four episodes of this. So,
I think so. And as well, chuck more in the comments. Like if you've got any other questions, comparisons, anything, just chuck it at us. We'll endeavour to answer it, or
that's right,
or find the answer if we don't already know about it.
And once again, it's all our experiences. So take that all with a grain of salt. Again, we are not experts.
And do your own research.
Do your own research.
Take what we say, but do your own research, whether it's a legal thing, a safety thing, or this or that, or whatever. Do your own research at the end of the day, and every state rule as well. I want to say that because some of the things we're going to be talking about will be different rulings for different states, so make sure you check your state and legal legislations.
One of the hardest things for full-time travellers, keeping up to date with everything from state to state.
That's always fun.
Pain.
Anyway,
get over to Roman and Ram's channel next week where we're diving into more of that. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe.
to both of our channels.
And Roman Ram, if you haven't already.
Yeah, and this will be a jump backwards and forwards thing. So we'll do an episode of me next week, then another episode over there, and we'll just keep on going, guys. So if you keep on throwing the questions, we'll keep on answering
We'll
them.
keep doing them. Yeah.
It doesn't just have to be American truck. You can throw some caravan stuff, some fishing, some electrical, whatever you've seen us do or whatever. Or if you've just got some random questions about whatever. I don't know. Yeah, just chuck them at us. We'll endeavour to answer.
And hopefully you answer the questions. If we don't know,
drink sheepdog.
Oh, far out. It's hasn't lasted very long, has it?
No.
Big cups, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
cheers, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.